And I love the fact that, you had a spiritual connection, because she was always about making sure everything we did was rooted in spirituality, that we always wanted to make sure we were connected to a higher power, but connected to one another in many ways. And went to Masterman, went to Simon Gratz High School. I was talking to son about hoop dreams, playing ball, and thought I was good, but my teachers told me I couldn't jump over a credit card, right? So they said, you ain't going to the NBA board, but you're smart enough to get an MBA.
Yes.
Went away to East Stroudsburg, upstate PA, came back home and started working in, sports television a little bit, and just started working with some young people and realized my calling was working with young people, and became a teacher. That was 35 years ago, and I never looked back. I've been 22 years, as a principal, and have always focused on working on it in the city, where I wanted to make sure that I was able to impact the same type of youth who lived in the community like I did, because I wanted them to be more than that, to be above average. I wanted them to be above the rim at the time, but
Right.
really what I really wanted was for them to seek, seek those new heights, basically to be above average. I mean, to really to connect with your message and your mission. That's really what we need to be about, in making sure that message is getting out there. Because folks see black men, they're always thinking below average. They're always underestimating what we could do. No, we have some amazing power, amazing connections, and amazing brothers out there, community like you brothers, your family, and the word needs to get out, because there are a million more.
Yes, sir. And that's why we have this show, and excited to have you on. I feel like I've done some research before I got on here. Like I said, we got that.
Oh, you gave my homework assignment, bro.
No, that's me personally. That might be genetic though.
We're just because information people, man. We gotta know. Man.
I mean, because
exactly.
I mentioned in reference we had the PSEC connection, but then also I got excited about kind of the chess portion, because I haven't necessarily told my dad this. I kind of taught myself how to play chess, like right before going to college on an app, Yeah, so like it was checkers and chess, and but ended up really getting into it. And my teammates in college, a fair amount of them actually played. So it was something that, I really began to get into, and it taught me a lot outside of just kind of the game. It taught me how to look ahead and plan and do so many other different things. So I kind of wanted to talk to you and find out, like, what was your introduction to chess? Like, kind of how you started out with that, and then kind of bridge that to something you introduced to children and kids.
Yeah, and as chess, it teaches you how to move, basically. Like even as an athlete, because when you look at these athletes out here, you can see the ones that are thinkers on the court, and that's what chess teaches you, to critically think. I got a young man right now, was just drafted by the Denver Nuggets in the first round, Bones Highland out of Delaware. He was a chess player when he was at my school. Now, he was a better basketball player, but he still wanted to learn chess. And you can watch him out there. And here's the thing, he was the 26th pick in the draft, but in the preseason, he led all rookies in scoring in the NBA. He was number 4 in the NBA in scoring for everybody in the preseason, and led all rookies in 4 different categories: assists, rebound, score. And it's all from his background in chess. Now, he overcame some obstacles as well, because going through struggles makes you resilient. That's why I keep trying to tell folks, stop trying to avoid them struggles. They're going to make you stronger. If you can look up, you can get up, right? God going to make sure you get up. Just be ready for the next step. But and that was my goal when I started working at Vaux Middle School in North Philly, right near Girard College, 24th and Master, where the cost of living is going up and the chance of living is going down. I in 10 years teaching at this school, we lost almost 20 young people to murder in that community. And I said to myself early on, I've got to find a way to teach these kids that they can choose the behavior, but they can't choose the consequences. And you see what's going on in Philly now with all these shootings and murders, young people.
Don't make sense.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And these are young people making bad decisions. So I started teaching some special education students how to play. I was teaching them mathematics on a chessboard. Knights move on right angles, bishops move on diagonals, a chessboard, a large square that contains 64 smaller squares. But what I didn't realize is I was really giving these students intellectual capital. They were walking around the school carrying chessboards. And if you don't think anything else about a young person that carries a chessboard, you assume they're intelligent, they're smart. Yeah. I learned smart is not something you are, it is something you can become. So these kids started beating me, beating other players, and the kids be like, damn, you play chess? Aren't you in the learning disabled program? They said, yeah, let's play a match to see if you should be my roommate, right? It humbles you. And then all the kids started playing. They started going out, beating other schools and these elementary and middle schools. Then they beat Central High, a team from Central. And I was like, yo, these kids will rise to your level of expectation. They will rise above average if you expect that, right? Yeah. And that was my introduction to it. Really, my older brother taught me to play, but he only taught me enough moves so he could keep beating me, right? So you know how big brothers are, right? They ain't gonna really let me.
Yeah, I'm a big brother myself, so I understand. You know, you want to hold on to that title.
So at that time, we didn't have the apps to the games, so I had to read some chess books. I went online and realized how mathematical chess was and how chess was so related to teaching. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to use two things I'm going to make I'm going to have at the foundation of my teaching. I'm going to teach children about African history, their own history, that their history didn't begin in the 1600s with slavery. But I'm also going to use chess so I can show where our people invented mathematics. Algebra was an African person. A geometry was developed in the Nile Valley because whenever the Nile would flood, Africans weren't able to keep track of the boundaries of their land. So they created this mathematics. So they were able to turn their own. So I said they're going to learn mathematics. Then they're going to learn chess so they can understand that mathematics at a higher level. And then the students just took it from there, became national champions. Arnold Schwarzenegger came to the school talking all this trash like he terminated. He got terminated.
Yeah, had the hand of him.
Yeah, it was. I said, Arnold, you can't come to the hood talking about chess. These kids really take the shit. I said, you want to talk about being expendable? That's fine. You want to talk about terminating? He said, no, I make everybody play on the movie set. I want to play. Then he played one of my girls, and these girls are serious. I said, they treat the pieces like offspring. They'll play hours and never trade a piece. And one of my girls was like, I know he was nervous because he's rich, he's famous, he's married to a woman who makes more money than he does. So I know he's upset. I said, oh, they teach y'all about that earlier. She said, but I checkmated him just like he was another guy. Arnold said, you terminated the Terminator. But it was really then. That was actually when I decided to write my first book, I Choose to Stay. And Arnold actually wrote the foreword in my book and wrote about this young lady, Denise, who beat him in the he remembered her name and everything. And talked about it in the forward because that's how powerful of an impact the young people had, because he saw them. He saw at that time, ain't nobody average here. Yeah. You know, that was 25 years ago. Right. And he saw that those young men were going to grow up to become above average Black men because of them. We were challenging them early on. And that's the key. And I think that's what's wrong with our young people in the community now. They don't have those challenges. They don't have what we had when we were growing up. The men in the community. You see a lot of people talk about these men down in Louisiana that went into the school and helped out when things out. That's what we had back then. That's old school. Yeah. We don't have that now, brother. So that's why I applaud what you're doing, how you're out there getting the message out to these audiences. And that's why I wanted to support you and come on and help you get the word out, because it's not going to happen if we don't do it. And so I appreciate what you're doing.
You represent I remember those chess games. I went to Strawberry Mansion.
You sound like my dad.
I remember those chess games.
I worked at Mansion, believe it or not.
The reason why I wrote what I wrote was because you are inspiring. One, because you break norms. And I think we have so many people now who are similar, who want to be like everybody else. And they don't meet many people that's willing to break the norms. And especially when I saw the campaign, I had to get the hoodie, I Choose to Stay, because, you know, most of us, we hone our skills and we take it elsewhere. Right. We don't stay. We hone our skills and we go and we keep going. We don't. Some of them don't even look back. We talk about the hood, say they people, them people. You know, we say all this stuff. So to me, and I admire it about you to get to where you are, and to continue to be as humble as you are and passionate about working with young people, because you know the population you work with that's the population people don't want to mess with anymore.
Oh no, society gave up on most of those young people, man. And I appreciate, and I want to thank you for being you brought one of our first, when we first started that Choose the State campaign, you were the first one coming on saying, I gotta support you. And the thing is, it was just like a little promotional idea. We thought we were gonna sell 100 shirts in PA and Jersey, whatever. In 2 months, we had sold over 500 shirts, 40 states, Africa, Canada, Hawaii, the Caribbean. I mean, it really, and people related, like you said, to the whole idea of publicly. That's why when you accept God, right? When you publicly express that, because people can hold you accountable. So when you say I choose to stay and you put it on a shirt, and it don't have to be staying in the school, it could be staying in a relationship with your child. It could be staying in a relationship it could be staying on the job. It could be staying committed to your goals, whether it be healthy eating, in the gym, just starting a business, whatever it is. Make the choice to stay. Don't give up because somebody else told you it ain't for you and ain't gonna work for you. Make that choice. And so I appreciate you supporting that, because that encouraged others to do that, bro.
Man, let me tell you, that is the biggest conversation starter whenever I wear that hoodie. Either one, somebody knows you through some experience they have with you, or somebody engaged me in the conversation, especially our Caucasian counterparts. Well, what does that mean? So then I can really get into it. And it's cool because it's a nice icebreaker. But it allows me to, one, educate them like, yo, there's people who look like me who are doing great things. You just don't know about. Now, if you were to rob a bank, everybody would know who you are. But they don't know. And then the second thing about it is everybody that comes from the hood is not bad. It's highlighted. They make you think everybody from the hood is terrible, but there's so much good in our community.
It is.
That people just don't know about. And when I listen to you, the other thing, and this is my little sidebar, like I love when you do the old school rap thing. That cracks me up.
Gotta take, because this stuff they listen to now, man. I'm like, come on, y'all ain't paying homage to what. Come on, we gotta keep it old school.
But you keep it real.
To it too, so I'm like, I don't know.
But you keep it real because it tells, like when I show this clip, when I talk about the young people, first I let them see your credentials. And they automatically think when they see the credentials, like, this dude's a nerd, man. This dude doesn't have a sense of humor. He should be teaching at Yale or Harvard. And I'm like, no, check this out. And then all of a sudden the whole room kind of shifts.
Right.
Because some of those kids feel like, yo, that could be me, because they at that stage where they doing the things, they making fun. So it changes conversations for young people. When they see somebody with your background, know what you're doing, and just as humble, and you act like one of them. You act like Uncle Joe at the barbecue.
That's it, baby. Let's get to stop. That's a part.
I love it. But I kind of wanted to talk, about your transition, kind of from going from corporate to going back to the community and working with kids. I kind of mentioned a reference. It almost sounds a lot in a way like my dad. He kind of started off at a company doing accounting, had an experience where he was, at a camp, and kind of put on the spot to talk to youth. And then almost his life changed since then. He found that was his calling or his purpose. So kind of wanted to talk to you about, how do you find yourself being able to leave kind of that corporate job that most people would probably glamorize or feel as though they love, and then go to something that, you can say personally that you feel more so fulfilled? Yeah.
Well, because you know when you get the call, like God doesn't call the equip, he equips the call. And so when you, and like I said, I went in, I was on the ground level, so I wasn't, big time, but I was on track. My goal was, this was before you had any black announcers on ESPN. This was 1986 when I started at Prism TV. This was when Moses Malone and Dr. J was still here.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know who Prism is, man. They never heard of Prism.
I know.
You talking about Prism?
Ain't that just like the color spectrum?
They didn't know about Prism when HBO was standalone. Remember the Journal? I used to be in the Journal every week for playing sports, man. They only had that paper anymore.
The Journal?
Right.
It was a sports paper that covered high school. They mostly covered high school.
Something somebody kept to themselves personally. I don't know.
But my, some teachers said, listen, come and, matter of fact, I went to Strawberry Mansion, right, to talk to these kids. And it was a career day program. And, the kids, and I worked for what we call the NBA beat. So every week, every month, we spend the day with like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Dr. J. We do like a 5-minute feature at halftime of game, aired at halftime, like day in the life of an NBA player. One day with Charles Barkley was very interesting. Trust me, like. But the kids were like, you know, they ain't even want to know who I was. They wanted to know how much money did Michael Jordan have, how many cars did Dr. J.
Everybody else.
Right. Couple kids came to me after the pro because I told them how I had been invited by my former teachers. My mom never owned a car. My teachers took me to college. My coaches picked me up and that kind of, and they said, well, if all these folks helped you out, how come you aren't a teacher? Right. And it was the first time I'm getting chills talking about it because these kids literally changed my life. Because if they hadn't asked me that, I would have been on a different track. And I started thinking, wow, you know what? Community supported me, nurtured my family, and you know, I'm trying to get out.
Right.
And I walked into my TV job and quit, and they understood. And I had been having, so I started substitute teaching. I used to talk to Barkley about I want to be a teacher. You know, I'm getting a master's. He's like, man, why are you getting a master's? I said, man, because you know I want to make a difference. He said, man, I said, you need to go back and finish because you know Barkley didn't get his undergrad. He said, listen, you got a master's. I got enough money to buy my own college. I said, yeah, I know you do, but I'm gonna make a difference because I'm gonna be sending kids to college. Now, not at the LeBron James level, but I'm gonna be sending kids. But and that was it for me. I got a master's, got a certificate to teach. I went back, I was teaching at Mansion. I taught at Graduate. I went to high school. And then in 1989 was when I began my career at Vaux Middle School for 10 years. And for me, the whole idea if I choose to stay came from when my chess team became successful. And I had gone to school and got my administrative certificate. I got a call. Well, my principal called me in the office one day and he said, listen, I got a call from David Hornbeck, who was the superintendent at the time. He said, they want you to become the assistant principal at Fitzsimons, right? Now, I'm like, well, I didn't apply for a job at Fitzsimons. He said, well, they want you to be there. You know, I hate the fact I didn't know you wanted to leave. I said, I don't want to leave. He said, well, they're going to call you later on and want to talk to you. So they called me later on and he didn't call me. His chief of staff called and said, you know, we want you to take this job at Fitzsimons. And I said, when is the job? And they said, we want you to report on Monday. And it was Friday. I said, y'all calling me on a Friday to report to a new school? I said, what am I going to say to these kids? I've been saying for years that money don't make a difference. Yeah. We in it for. They said, well, it's a $20,000 raise. I said, how much? They said $20,000. I said, listen, I would love the raise. I would love the job, the power. I said, but I can't look these kids in the face. I said, I'm one of the few black male role models they have. I said, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to turn the job down. I said, you probably would never offer me another job. And the lady, I forgot the lady's name, chief of staff. She said, I think a lot of principals are gonna want to hire you when they find out that you made a decision to stay there for those kids. And a year later, a year or two later, I was able to get a job as an assistant principal right at Vaux. And then a couple of years later, I took over Reynolds Elementary School, which was one block from Vaux. So I now had a chess team at elementary school and in the middle school. So now I was teaching kindergarten and first grade students how to play. These kids were playing chess 6, 7, 8 years before they went on to high school. And what's so powerful about that is that, you know, and I did my dissertation research, I talked about how 90% of the brain develops before we are 5 or 6 years old. So, and the last part of the brain that develops is the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for decision making. But chess develops that part of the brain as early as 5 and 6. So it's an amazing game, and that's why chess players make very good decisions, because you practice that on a daily basis. Right. And teenagers don't make good decisions because that part of the brain develops last. But that was really how I made that transition. And if not for those children just saying, you know, listen, you know, I know all that's good working where you are with all those superstars, but we need to know how come you're not doing what these people did for you, because they're the reason you're here. Now, they didn't use those words, but that was the message that they were sending me. And I'm glad that God made me listen, because by listening, I am 35 years later, still waking up with determination and going to bed every night with satisfaction, because I love what I do. I don't even look at it as this work is my passion, My job is to get better at it, right? That's my job. It's the work is not the job. The job is to get better at what we do, brother. And that's why I'm honored to be here tonight, because somebody out there is listening. Somebody that we didn't even know was going to be out there is listening and saying to themselves, I can do it. I need to go do that. I need to keep going, because this is a tough time right now for educators.
Oh, it is.
We're going through right now. It's unbelievable. You know,
I mean, like it's been a tough time, and kind of even more so the past few years, you know, kind of with COVID and having to deal with things just seeming like they're going to be forever changing moving forward. You know, how has this state that we're in right now kind of changed how you're dealing with or working with kids? Like, are you still able to have everyone come together as much and play chess after school, or like, have you moved to doing things online per se?
So, a year and a half ago, when we initially had the first wave of the pandemic and COVID, we had to shut it down, and then we started going online. But now that we have the vaccines, now that we have a lot of the protocols, we do have students back. Now, we're not playing any matches yet, so we're practicing. We're trying to do so. They play outside a lot. When we play indoors, we space them out to have the mask. So we haven't had any issues yet with that. So if we continue like that, especially with these, now we have the vaccines, not only for, you know, students, for adolescents, but now they're talking about students 5 and up now, 6 and up will be able to get the vaccines. I think we might be able to start doing some tournaments, but it has made it very, very difficult, because chess is a very intimate game. It's a game where you're sitting across this board, right? and most times you talking to your opponent. You either talking trash, right? Or you know, like for me, a lot of times I'm asking kids, like, you know, how's it going? How's life? Some of these children, you know, some of these young people are homeless, living in hotels, living in shelters, or living with other families. They're struggling. And a lot of times they won't want to talk about it. But when you're playing chess, you know, they let their guard down. So it's a great opportunity, especially intergenerational, because we get like a lot of older community members. They come in and want to play, and they think we're gonna go beat up on these kids, but they don't realize how good these kids are.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, like, you know, maybe older people that may graduated from this program. Do they generally come back and help out with some of the kids that are currently going through? And you know, are they beating up on the young kids, or the young kids, you know, kind of giving it to them? I mean, I heard again a story kind of with how things started. You slowly introduced these guys to competition, and they kind of exceeded beyond, you know, what your expectations were. So definitely kind of want to hear, are some of those guys coming back now, and how's that experience going?
But listen, that's a great question. You training them well there, bro. See, that's an excellent question, because that's the power of influence, and that's the purpose. That was one of my main purposes of the program, was to be able to raise these young men and women to be chess players, but also I wanted them to give back. So my former chess players from Vaux came to Delaware and helped me develop my program in Delaware. So they started teaching at my school. So we won 2 national champions. We're the only school in Delaware that ever won a chess title. We did it twice in 3 years. One of those young men that played chess for me at Vaux came and started teaching at my school, started teaching chess, helped me develop the national champion chess program. He's now a principal at a school 5 blocks from my school now. So he's now a principal, was a chess player at Vaux, young man, single parent, struggling, engineering and science high school, went to Kutztown, now making a difference. And so the young man, so his name is Nate, right? Nate Durant. So the young man that he trained when he started teaching, because, you know, people, they told Jay-Z, like, you know, I forgot which one of the guys, it was like, he said, we made Jay-Z. Jay-Z said, all right, well, make another Hove then. If you made make another one, right? But might have been Damon Dash or somebody. It was like, make another one. If you made me, then make another one. So somebody can't, you know, somebody said, well, I made Nate. So somebody came in and said, where's the next Nate? So Nate said, well, so we got a young man now that Nate trained at my school, who's now in college getting his degree, and now he's coaching the team now, and he's beating Nate. You know, he beats Nate, and the kids he's training are beating him, because see, the coach because Michael Jordan beat his coach. So there's no expectation that the coach is going to be better than the player.
Right.
You want your players to exceed you, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that, I don't know if you realize this, that you've been able to do something that most people have not been able to do. And as one who aspires to get to your level, you know, you've been able to stay relevant for a long time.
Yes.
And you know, when you're in this business, especially when you're working with young people, it doesn't last that long.
No.
It doesn't last that long. And I think the second part of it, you said something that I say all the time, because even the biblical reference, Jesus told the disciples, you will do greater works than me. I think the mark of true leadership is when the people you lead rise above them, for so to speak. I think that's leadership. Not when you keep everybody down. To me, when I look at people like yourself, that's leadership. When the people that you train up, because they take your gifts plus their gifts, and they should be better than us. So I applaud you for that, because you know how we get sometimes as leaders. We don't want people to pass us.
No, they want followers. See, that's what social media. Social media got folks going after followers instead of trying to have disciples who can go and do your work and then do greater work, do greater good in God's name. They don't understand that, because it lifts you up, but you got to be humble and you got to be okay with seeing your student, you know, do well. And that's the challenge. And that was the thing about, because my first book, I Choose to Stay, was published in 2002, right? And when the publisher, when we first submitted the book, the publisher, nobody really wanted the book, because they said that, you know, teachers don't read about other teachers, and, you know, we're going to read a book about a black man. And so, but I had one publisher in New York that said, we're going to take a chance. And they said, we're going to publish it in hardcover. They said John Grisham's first book wasn't even published in hardcover. They said, we're going to take a chance on you. They said, if we sell 5,000 copies, we're going to be happy. We sell 10,000. They said, we in heaven, because we don't made our money back and made a profit.
Yeah.
In 5 years, they were over 50,000 copies in print. A book that they never marketed, right? It was the community it was coming on shows like this, community-based, spiritual-based, that were connected on the ground to our people, and the people support it and talk about staying relevant. The book is still selling 20 years. We're coming up on a 20-year anniversary next year, and they're still sending me royalty checks for this book. Well, Disney bought the movie rights, and then they never made the movie. And we were in talks with Will Smith and trying to do. It's going to get made.
It's just get made. Because when I heard it, I was like, "This is the movie."
Have you seen the one with Cuba Gooding?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that, when I thought about that, you know, I said, man, you know, and now since you said it, I didn't know that they were talking about making a movie, but this is the kind of stuff that changes lives in our community. When they look at it, looks like them, came from there. This is generational change right here.
But they made the movie, but Cuba at the time was like an ex-con, janitor, right? They never want to. The problem is they don't want to make the movie about the black man that got educated and came back, who chose to stay, because they don't want people to see we're above average. They don't want that, right? That challenges the narrative. So they want it, because they even had a script. Don Scott, who wrote Barbershop 1 and 2, he wrote the script for the movie, but in the script, he had me like I wasn't the intellectual. I was putting people down and I wasn't supportive. I'm like, that's not me, Disney. That's not me. That's not what we need to put out there for our people. But they just wanted to sell tickets.
Yeah, and I think kind of that's what's important, why we done this show here, and excited to have you on and other people going forward to just spotlight that, you know, we're not this image that I feel like sometimes Hollywood and TV and even with social media, people reposting just these viral images that again don't reflect and represent what I know my community is, you know? Right. So kind of wanted to talk in and dig in about some challenges that you may have experienced potentially starting out here. Again, chess is not a normal sport, I would say, especially for me growing up. In our community, it's not. Like, you know, I was a basketball player. I think it's an anomaly for me. I told you the story where my college teammates, we were playing chess on our phones on the bus. Right. That's not a common thing. I know that for sure. But like, so what were some challenges that you may have encountered within some of your introductions of the game to kids?
So I think, of course, one of the challenges was like everybody want to be Michael Jordan and LeBron. Like if they want to play basketball, they don't want to play chess.
They probably playing chess though too, though, you know?
Well, listen, Michael Jordan and LeBron James, they play chess. Like
Yeah.
Curtis Martin, who played for the Jets, talked about he used to fly to sit down and play chess with Jim Brown and learn about the game of football, but also learn about how to think. And they would just sit and play chess for hours and talk. It's so, and a lot of these athletes talk about how they play chess on the planes when they go on the game. So I would share that with the students, but I also knew there were people getting cut from teams. And I'll just be waiting for them to get cut. I'm like, listen, ain't you tired of getting cut, man? You want to be a star? I can make you a star through chess. You'll be a bigger star through chess. I said, I promise you, I'll have you in the newspaper. I have you on the news. And then, because that's all, they want to be famous, right?
Right.
So then I went to the Philadelphia Inquirer. I went to Yuki Wash. All my contacts. And so I said, listen, I promised these kids I was going to make them a star. Don't make me a liar. I got these I need you to do a story. I just ran into Yuki like recently, right? And I'm like, Yuki, I appreciate you doing that story on my kid. And the media was all for it. They were like, yeah, we want to show these kids in the good light. It's just we have to go. A lot of times their higher ups are not thinking about our community because they're not from our community.
Right.
So we have to go to them and say, listen, we want you to come do a story on these positive kids doing this part. And this is a game that nobody, when you go out in the world and see this game, you see Russians, you see Asians, you see people from the Middle East. You very rarely are you going to see kids from the United States, and if you do, they're going to be Caucasian, right? These are African-American young people. And there was a strong chess program at Vaux before I arrived. So I want to be clear about that the kids have been playing chess at Vaux in the 70s and 80s, but the program had died. And when I arrived there, I read about the program and said, listen, we got to rebuild this program. There's a brother Ishmael that was working at the school. He was in the community. And I said, Ish, and he was a very good chess player. And I just said, Ish, and I talk about the story in my book. I said, I'm going to get these kids involved. And what I'm going to do is we're going to start playing, but we're going to let them play. When you don't let kids do stuff, they get mad. They want to show you how they can be better than you, right? It's like when you playing ball, they make you sit on the side.
You can't do anything but rebound. You can't rebound.
Yeah, and you're like, no, I know. Wait till I get on the court. I got something for them. And after we started letting them play, and they started, because a lot of these children, they had family members, your family members who played chess. Chess has been in our community for generations, for centuries in our community. You know, it was nothing new. It's just that we've always, once we had that access to athletics, that became the priority. But once the children saw, and then I'm gonna tell you what else. Also, and I hate to talk so much, but you brothers got me fired.
Listen, I'm taking this all. That's why you're here, man.
That's why we put you.
Listen, the young people saw their grades were going up. So they started telling their friends, like, yo, man, I'm getting A's and B's. You need to start play chess, and so they started recruiting for me. And also, in my research, I interviewed some of my former chess players. And one of the things they talked about is they said that they were involved. They love to travel because these kids 12, 13 years old, going to California, Arizona, Florida, they said that they love the family aspect of it, that many of them didn't have any black male in the home, that they would come to a chess room every day where a black man was at the head, was in charge, because the profession is 90% of our profession is female. They were coming from female-headed households. We came to a room every day where there was a man who was there every day, who showed up, and they just said that that was so much for them that they said, I just couldn't see myself not doing it. And so it just, every year was like, I got 2 years in, 3 years in, then they would graduate and come back and keep playing chess because it was just part of their routine. And so much that they went to high school for engineering and science that didn't have a chess team and started a chess team at engineering and science, and then beat the city champion Masterman, beat them, took their city title from them. And they had held that title for 10 years. And went there and did that, from the fact that they just have been doing it, so long. But that barrier of like chess is for nerds, chess is for the smart kids. But once these young black men realized I can be cool and smart, it was over. Then when the girls started playing, then that was the problem is they took over the program. You know how women are, they take over everything. They just took over the program, but it made our program more diverse. But I also now was able to show them, I always talked to them about being a king. Now they had queens on the team. You can't be a king if you're not respecting your queen. Right. And now I think that was a great opportunity for them as well to interact with females at that age. We travel, we eating in restaurants, we spending 6-7 days on the road. So for them, it was an awesome opportunity for them to really be a part of a family.
But one thing about you that stands out, and you touched a little bit, is, so the question is, one, how did you develop your strong sense of family comes through in everything you do. When I read your posts, when you talk about your former students, when you talk about them, and it's always it's not look what I did, it's look at what they accomplished. You know how some people get, look what I did, I helped them get there. I never read or heard you say that. It was always, look what so-and-so accomplished. And I'm so proud to have, taught him or mentored him or been associated with him. So where did that come from? Because you talk about your mom a lot. So did it come from your mom, or, where did that come from?
Yeah, it came from my mom. My mom's from Charleston, South Carolina, man. And my mom, she didn't have a whole lot. She was raising these kids by herself. My dad wasn't there. But my mom, and I'm the only one of my mom's 8 kids to go to college and graduate. My mother, when I wanted to become a teacher, my mother was so happy because she was the block captain, organizing trips, going, we should take, back in the day, we charter a few buses, the block, we go Wildwood, different places, that kind of thing. We'd even go out Memorial Hall, have picnics or whatever. But my mom also taught me about service. And even when I was working at Vaux, and I knew that these kids wouldn't be able to catch up or close the gap if they didn't have extra days where they were working. So I asked the kids, if I was willing to teach you on Saturday, would you come? And they was like, yeah, I'll come, but you got to feed me. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm young, single black man. I ain't got no money to feed. Baby's kids trying to get me. So I told my mom, I said, listen, Mom, if I have the academy at your house, would you feed them? Because they said if they come. So my mom said, yeah, I'll feed them. So every Saturday I would pick them up, take them to my mom's house. Then we work for a couple hours. I'm teaching them high level mathematics and writing and whatnot. And my mom would feed them. I had somebody said something on Facebook. They was like, yo, I remember the meals. They said, I don't mean no disrespect, Mr. L, but that's the only reason I was coming. I was coming to meals. But it was like, whatever it takes, if that's what it takes, we're going to get you there. And I think I learned that from my mom. And then when I told my mom I wanted to be a teacher, my mother said, listen, just remember, every teacher is not a parent, but every parent is a teacher. So you're going to have to push that all your life, get these parents to understand they are the first teacher for their children. Then when I wanted to become a principal, now my mother passed in 2002, but she was like my life coach, my mentor. And she was the one before she passed away. She said, listen, you got to get your doctor. I said, Mom, I got 2 masters. Like, that ain't enough. She said, you got to get your doctor. And that was the one thing. And from that point on, I took me 10 years to write my dissertation. I wanted to give up so much. But every time I would want to give up, I would hear my mom's voice saying, you got to get that doctor. So in 2019, man, I finally defended my dissertation in her honor, got that done. But one of the things she taught me when I wanted to become a principal, she said, you got to realize when you become a principal, you're going to go into your school. She said, they're going to be teachers who have been there for principal after principal after principal. She said, they're going to be teaching the children of the children they taught. She said, don't go in and be arrogant. She said, be humble. She said, arrogance is the Achilles heel of any leader, especially a school leader. So go in and bow down to those old ladies and learn from them. Don't be arrogant. And I said, Mom, you wrote my first speech for my first staff meeting. So my first meeting, I said exactly what my mother said. I forgot to edit out, bros. Listen, I forgot to edit out the part about the old lady. So my first year, I was in big trouble. But think about the message of leadership is about service. If you don't serve, you can't lead. And if service is beneath you, leadership will always be beyond you. So I learned that early on as a principal, and she set me up like a Reese cup. That's why I'm still doing it, because I knew then if somebody asked me to wash their feet, I'm gonna have to wash their feet, because that's the job. Because as an administrator, you are adding to the ministry. That's what an administrator does. And once I learned that, so anything you ask me to do, I need to be willing to do it because God placed you here so I would have somebody to help. And that's how I look at it. So I learned that, and I must lift others up because it takes a special person to be comfortable celebrating the success of other people. And so I try to use my page. You know, I started this little thing that I Choose to Stay Chronicles, where I started doing stories about people out there in the community, in education, doing things, not talking about me, talking about others, because when I fill their cup, I'm filling my cup. But it all comes from that little young lady from Charleston, South Carolina, who moved to New York City, in the Bronx, in Harlem, came to Philly, North Philly, and really instilled in me that desire to really want to make a difference. I'll tell you what was most powerful is that my mother used to make me listen to Malcolm X tapes all the time. Right. And all of the and read. She used to take me to Temple. I would go to these lectures, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and just so many African scholars, because she wanted me to learn about the history of our people. She said, if you're teaching our children, you have to teach these children that our people were building pyramids long before these folks even knew about cement. Like, you know, we brought light to the rest of the world. You know, you have to teach them. She said, because when they believe that, when they know their ancestors did that, they'll believe that they can be above average. They can do anything they want as long as they know that it was done before them, that it was written. And so that came from my mom, and that's what I strive to do every day, is really try to promote the great work of our young people, but also of many educators, many teachers who have worked, who is, you know, using their own money and their own time to help make the dreams of these kids come true, man.
And my next question is, how do you make, in a time where I hear so many people talk about burnout, you maintain the consistent fire and
energy,
like no matter what video
it sounds like you just started yesterday.
You can just finish working out. I look at you sometimes and you can see on your face you're physically tired because you just got finished working out, and then you smile, a little smile you have, and then it just starts pouring out.
Just left school, and I said, man, let me go home. Like I was telling everybody all day, I got to get on this podcast. I'm excited about it. Make sure I get out of here, you know. But really, it's and not just still excited about it, but I'm turning down interviews for $1 million contracts and superintendent jobs and whatnot, because I'm feeling my calling is for where I am. And I got people, and I listen, everybody out there, I appreciate you. You in my DMs, you're texting me. Look, the Philly superintendent job is open. It's a job in Delaware. It's one in Georgia. And I appreciate that, right? And that means you love me. But I'm also saying to folks that I'm just not ready at this right now. I need to be, where I am, and I'm able to maintain this fire in my belly, because I know that those young people, that somebody there is waiting, they can be me. You mentioned early in the show that the message really is for these young people. You showed them my credentials, then you showed them who I really was, right? And he rapping KRS-One, he won. Oh, so I could be him. Yeah, you can be cool and smart. You can be both. You can rap and you can write. Right. You don't have to do one. Black folks, we can do more than one thing.
Yes, sir.
And we have done it. It's just that you don't hear about it. You don't read about it, because when you start hearing about and reading about it, more young people are gonna put the guns down. They're gonna pick up these chess pieces. They're gonna pick up the rooks. They're gonna pick up the books. And see, when you do that, now you're going against the master plan. Right now, you start to change the dynamics of the world. So it's a major blessing to be able to bless others. And every year at the end of the school year, I get some young person that comes to me and they say, Principal, are you coming back next year? Because they come, they say, Principal, I was on your YouTube. I got like first and second. When we were on remote learning, a teacher said, I need you to come on to my classroom in remote learning. one little kid had my picture up as her background, right? A kindergarten student. This is how intelligent they are. She took my picture from YouTube and made it into an image, and it was her background on her remote learning.
That's too funny.
Man.
These kids are smart, man. Technology.
They are.
But you know what? I think the number one thing that I try to come across to people is our kids, brown kids are relational. They're so relational. And they are super smart when it comes to figuring out people. They may not always do well academically, but they know who's real, and you've always been real. You've always told it like it was. You know, you don't sugarcoat it, but you do it in such a way where it's like humorous. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's like that favorite uncle you got, you know, when he talks, he can be telling you all, but you like just engaged in the conversation. So I think that's what's missing in our community. That's what's missing in our classrooms and missing in our schools. You know, we don't have that voice that, you know, corrects us, but motivates us. I always say this to my kids and to my students. I say, you know, it's a difference between criticism and critiquing.
Yes,
to me, when you criticize, you just want to beat somebody down. Critiquing means I'm trying to help. And that's what we don't get enough of. We get the criticism. We tell you 10 things is wrong, but we never follow up with, you know, with what I need to do correct it. So how did you develop that mindset? You know, because let's be honest, most people, when they start to get educated, they start to get famous, they lose that part, man. They just want to tell people what's wrong.
Here now.
Yeah, they want to tell them what's wrong and move on. Let me tell you the 10 things you do wrong. I see you next week. But how did you develop that mindset that you were just being more of a critiquer and a nurturer and a developer? Because you have those characteristics.
Yeah. And like you said, and I try to inject humor, like almost every post, I try to include a positive message, but I try to make it funny so people aren't intimidated. Because, you know, I tell people, you can have something that's serious and funny. The opposite of funny is not serious. The opposite of funny is not funny. So you can be funny and serious. And so I try to add the humor to sort of kind of break down the wall, but I want you to receive this message. And I just saw early on, that's how I was teaching. So when I started teaching early on, I was using humor and I was using rap. And the kids it was like edutainment.
Yeah.
And like I had their attention.
Edutainment. You gotta coin that. Did you coin that?
So I just said, listen, this is how I'm going to, and even when I do my presentations, my professional development, my speeches, my lectures, I always make sure I throw some Houdini in their friends. How many of us have them? You know, I just Run DMC. I said, people don't even realize Run DMC was talking about going to college 30 years ago. I'm DMC in the place to be. I went to St. John's University. Imagine young people that was in their ears every day, you know, every day now. But that's what old school was about. It was always, even if it's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It was always a message, no matter hard times. It didn't matter what it was, you know, but so I said to myself, I'm gonna make it so it's something that they're interested in, but they're still learning. And that just became my master plan, that because that's the engagement before information. That if you engage them, you can get them to soak it in, but give it as feedback. Like you said, a lot of people don't see, brother, you're a smart brother. See, people will take the critique because it's feedback. The criticism is when they shut down. It's like, oh, you just, you know, you ain't even telling me nothing positive. Because when you're giving critique, you're telling them what I saw. I saw some grow and I saw some glow. Right. So let me tell you what looks great, but let me tell you what you work on. When you criticize, you know, you ain't this, you can't do that, you know, folks they don't want to hear that, right? And they're not gonna go that way. And I found early on that our young people, that they want to maintain some dignity, even with discipline. You can discipline is a form of love. It's just, and our parents knew how to discipline us, and they bought that discipline back in the day. Talking about leave no child behind. Our parents believed in leave no child with or behind, you know, but they made sure that we knew they loved us and cared about. I want the best for you. And that became part of my teaching strategy, is that I'm going to engage you. I'm going to hook you. I'm going to find out where you are. So that means I had to then, when these students started listening to Snoop Dogg and Jay-Z and Drake and all the rest, I had to go out, because my mom said, listen, you can fight it as much as you want, but they're listening to it. So if you don't know what they're listening to, you're not gonna be able to communicate their language. So she said, learn it. And then she said, connect it back to where you came from. Show them, give. So I give them a little bit of what they listen to. And then I talk to them about where it came from. This came from KRS-One, the real teacher, from Rakim, thinking of a master plan. Ain't nothing but sweat inside my hand, but I dig into the pocket, all my money spent, so I dig deeper, still coming up with lint. Right?
Hip hop dictionary here, all the old raps.
Yeah, but that's but and they love it because even though it's old school, and they say we don't want to hear those old school, don't come in our class no more. As soon as I walk out, like, can you hit one more of those old school raps?
Yeah,
I know, because your mother was home last week saying the same thing I'm saying. You want to go home and be like, Mom, I already know that song. And the parents would tell me, they say, my child come home telling me their principal know how to rap. Who is this principal in the class? So I start rapping at the graduations. Our graduation standing room up. We got people come to the graduation, don't even have kids at our school because they want to hear it because of the because they're connected to it. Like that's what our people. Music is food for us.
Right, it really is.
This goes to the topic of the show. You have, and most people miss this. You have a life of impact, and most of us live our lives being impacted by the media, impacted by influential people, impacted by politics. You actually impact people, and the thing that's really, for me, that I really like about it is it doesn't matter the demographic, it doesn't matter the age group, you hit them all. You hit them all. And
I just came back from Utah. I spoke in Salt Lake City to 250 principals. There wasn't one brother in the audience, right? And I'm like, listen, this is me. And I said, I got a lot of respect for y'all because y'all don't invite a guy from the Diamond Street Project, from Raymond Rosen, right? From Philly, come out here and they wanted to hear about the chess story. And I was just telling them how, and I was, and my message out there was, it doesn't matter where you are. The impact of an educator is not determined by their ability to teach. It's determined by their ability to learn and their ability to be curious and their ability to grow. And that's where that impact, that's where that critique and that feedback come, because if you're not open to that, if you're not open to being challenged, you're not going to grow, you're not going to get better. And that was the message, and afterward, superintendent came and said, you were just what we needed. We appreciate that. And and that's the standard response, whatever. I got an email about a month later. They said, listen, our people out here enjoyed it so much and we've never done this before. We want you to come back next summer and do the same thing. I never get people, they never invite the same speaker the next year. They said, we had a hard time trying to find somebody to match what you did. So we just said, bring them back for another. And these is all white folks, man. Like you say, it doesn't matter the demographic, whether they're young. And if it's young, I'll come into a school. I'll go in school sometimes, do a presentation for the students. Then I'll do one for the teachers and the principal. Then at night, I'll do one for the parents. Because the message, it's going to resonate.
All the bases, the community.
And I'm doing the same rap for all. Now I might have to change it up a little bit for, when I get with the parents, because they really know, like they'll start singing the lyrics with me when I get.
Yeah.
So, and then for the teachers, I'm telling them how, who gets weaker, the king or the teacher. It's not about a salary. It's all about reality. Teachers teach and do the world good. King just ruled and most have never understood. And I say, but you don't realize they were rappers rapping about that, because you just let the media tell you that it was all about NWA, but there are rappers who actually respect teachers. And that becomes as educators, that's where the learning and being curious is about, is you have to go out. Even when I see these people on Jeopardy, uber smart people, but when they ask questions on Jeopardy about Black authors, about Black music, they never get them right. Now you're a genius, but you don't know anything, because they can operate and not know about us, but we can't operate and not know about them. And that education comes in many forms, and one of them is right here on the spiritual. What is it? What is the
Spiritual Connect Radio, above average Black men?
Connect Radio, above average Black men. The Black men are rising. The stakes are high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But I appreciate you brothers for helping me get that message out.
No, but I got one more question. I got to ask this question because my kids laughed at me when I used to say this growing up. They're older now. When I used to say, I was born and raised in North Philadelphia, but you know what? The character resilience I learned right there in the hood. I didn't get in the college professor. I didn't get in the book. I learned it in my neighborhood, right there, 33rd and Montgomery. Play on the playground out there, Diamond Street, playing Hank Garrett's, we used to be Moreland Recreation Center. Those places, man, are so much a part of who I am. Gustine Lake, Bill Gray League, those places, man, formed and shaped me, and I still have relationships with
33rd
guys.
Montgomery, boy, you was paying your dues. You paid your dues, brother. Yeah, that's real. That's where we're made. That and see, that's Ben Simmons' problem. See, he didn't. he
That's
didn't
a whole other hour.
He didn't go out to Park 33rd and Diamond. See, if he had to deal with that, or 16th for Susquehanna, 16th for Berks, McGonigal Hall. When you play there, you could play any. See, that's the problem, and that's where North Philly, man, it will make you, brother. Prepares you for anything.
They let you hear it, man. They used to throw bottles on the court if their team wasn't winning. They would, and they used to laugh because we used to go to different neighborhoods
and get chased, and we get chased home if we win.
But we had a game, but they would give us like 10 minutes after the game. After the 10 minutes, we need to be gone. They would let us play the game. But man, all this carrying extra sneaks and that, man, we had to get out of it. We had to get out of it.
But you bringing back memories, man.
Memories? I just remember, and we laughed. We laughed about it when I talked to some of my friends because it was just, we were, and it was funny because some of those cats, that were, on other teams, we went to school together. We saw each other outside. But it's something about when they got back to their neighborhood, we got back done and we got on a basketball court. It was just all out war. That's just the way it was, man.
Yes, sir.
But bro, we would love to come and do something at your school. That's the first thing. That is like an open invitation, man. You let us know. We would love to come down to Delaware, man, and do a podcast or something, talk to some of your students. We would love to.
Yeah, I already know I'm not on any of their level in chess, so I wouldn't even do
I'm not playing chess.
No, we got all levels. We got all levels.
Hopefully they teach me something, but it's been a pleasure to have you. Like,
definitely, man.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor, brother. I just appreciate you staying on me to make sure I got this done because I told you I wanted to do it, and you were flexible and allowed me to do it, remotely, brother. But it's an honor and a blessing.
But you represent this show because it's funny because when my son came to me and said, "Yo, we want to do this." Because I used to do a show twice and I stopped. I was like, I don't want to feel like doing this anymore. When they came to me and they explained the format, I was like, man, I got to be a part of this. And then I started thinking about the people that I've come across and act with that really represent what we're trying to do above average. And you're at the top of the list, bro. You're definitely at the top of the list, man. You're definitely at the top of the list, man.
Appreciate
you, brother.
We got to make sure that we get you a shirt.
Yeah, if you send me the address, I'll get the shirt out to you. That's not
I'll do that.
Again, we would love to do a podcast or something from your school, man. Just let us know. Come down, whatever. On January 15th, I'm having a conference, SOS Save Our Sons at Cabrini University. If it's COVID, if it's still COVID restriction, we're gonna do it virtually. It's gonna be for middle school and high school. I just got a call today from Vault's Big Picture now. They're bringing 60 kids.
Wow.
So Cabrini is going to be represented.
So is Cabrini letting you do that on the campus, huh?
Yeah, we're going to be right on their campus.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing. Yeah, let's talk about that. I might bring some young folks, up for that. Now, you got the mobile equipment. You could bring that down and do the podcast from there?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Oh, y'all big time.
We can do the podcast from there. We can do the radio show from there. We can do it all from there.
And I do some video editing.
All I need is internet.
I just record it and I edit later too.
Yeah, all we need is internet.
Oh, y'all big ballers, man. Y'all big ballers.
No. We try.
I mean, we balling because we got you here. That's how we balling now,
Well, I guess my whole thing is because this has been my charge for a long time, my son, to tell you, I've been trying to get as many people who look like us in front of our kids so they can see that success has so many different, avenues to go to, but they all end up at the same place with character and integrity. Yeah. There are no shortcuts to success. So so to have you represented in some of our previous guests, and I got to say this, and we'll tell you, our show gets better and better every week. It's like every week we get these guys and people come to me and say, hey, where'd you get them from? And real quick, 2 years ago, we had our event at Cabrini. Dynamite speakers, but I had 15 brothers, 15 African men just come hang out, eat breakfast, eat lunch, and that's all those kids talked about. Well, who are those guys that you had, that sat at the table with us and talked to us, hung out with us for the whole day? They were blown away by that. We had 175 youth from Norristown, some from Philly. They've never seen that before. They have never seen that many black men in one place.
So what's your connection with Cabrini?
Dr. Ron Whitaker?
Yeah.
I gave him his first job, man, in a nonprofit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we go way back. Yeah, he worked
Great.
for me for a while. So
That's
him and I
great.
are like a very good friends, man, and we still connect. I went to his church. I did a relationships thing for his church. So we do a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That's
So I
great.
can get on the campus pretty much when I need to.
Yeah, that's a nice campus too, man. I sent some kids up there. It's a good little campus. Plus, you know, a lot of Philly ball players went up there and played ball there.
Yeah. So matter of fact, this will be the second time I'm having the conference there. We just partnered on the grant on the VIP violence and prevention grant.
Mhm.
You know, so hopefully that comes through and we're doing some work that way for them too. But yeah, definitely, man. And thank you
All right,
for
brother.
checking
So
out the
listen,
website, man.
this is not the last time we're gonna be working together for sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm
I'm
happy
looking
to hear
forward to
that,
it, man.
Yeah,
We're
oh,
also
yeah.
trying to make this just a network. You know, we're starting to build and expand the people that we talk to and make this a community of finding out any ways that we can help each other. So,
But I got one of them, my youngest son, to be it too, but he kind of had all this stuff arranged. But because this is needed in our community. Because one thing I hear a lot about this show as we get ready to close is they don't see Black guys sitting around talking like this.
No. Mm-mm.
They don't see that too. I hear that from all different age groups, male and female. They're not used to seeing conversations like this. So we applaud you again for honors with your presence, man. I look forward to connecting with you again. Make sure I get the address. I'll get that shirt to you. Anytime you invite us down, we're there. You just give it to us. We're down there.
Let's make it happen, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank
Well above average. No, I mean, well
thank
above
you,
average.
man. Appreciate another successful
Okay.
episode, Above Average Black Man. Inspire, empower, uplift the community.
That's right.
Keep
Rise
going,
to the
everybody.
occasion, not shrinking to our circumstances.
Right.
All right, my brother.
Take
It was a
care.
All right,
pleasure.
peace and
And
blessings, man.
looking forward to talking to you again.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Take care. All right.
We just finished up another episode.